So this is a short tutorial on how to change the pads and rotors on a 96 Acura Integra. Should be the same for all Integras up to, I guess, 01. Pretty much once you jack up the car, first thing you have to do for the back is take off the caliper shield. This one's missing it, so I'll show you how it looks like on the other side. So it's pretty much just this metal piece. There's two places where it's held in place with two 10mm bolts. One is up here and the other you access from behind. It's visible from here at the screw. So let's go back to the other side. So once that's done, there's two 14mm bolts holding the caliper in. This one here and just down here. I've already broken them loose, so all you have to do is wiggle off the caliper. And just in case if you forget, remember to take off the parking brake. So once you've done that, the next thing is just to keep the caliper out of the way. I just zip tie it up to the strut. So the next step would be to take off the caliper bracket. Secured by two 14mm bolts. I've already broken these loose. So I'll just remove that. Almost loose. Comes out like that. Just before we put it back together, just clean up the bracket a bit and just either replace these if packaging came with new stuff, or just clean them and reuse them. And remember to re-lube up the guide pins. So, okay, and I guess take off the rotor. There's usually two screws holding it in. I guess last time the car got done, no one bothered to replace them, so they're not really necessary. That's all you'd have to do. And I guess just as a precaution, or just regular maintenance, you could always clean off the ABS sensor. It's right over here. And the ABS ring. To do that, just spray a little bit of brake clean on the tip, tiny amounts, and just fold the paper towel in half and just turn the hub. Should be sufficient to clean off the sensor's tip. Then just wipe away the ring. Again, not necessary, but might as well since we're at it. Okay, and I guess you can press in the rear caliper. To do this one, you have to rotate the caliper clockwise. You can use a chisel, anything that's big enough to fit in the groove. Press in and turn. Again, since I'm using one hand, I'll continue after the brake, but pretty much you just have to push it in and turn clockwise. So I'll continue after. Step was to, I guess, grease up the slider pins. I just removed them and applied a drop of grease. Just going to spread that around on both of them and just put them back into the place. The boot should just slip right on to the top lip. And just move it around to make sure that it's secure in place. Before we put the bracket back on, remember to put the new rotor in place. Let me just grab that. Poke into the holes. The holes are there in case the rotor is stuck. So you can just put a bolt in there. I guess it's going to be a 10mm to help loosen it out. This goes in place. And just put the bracket back on. Remember to tighten this thing down to 28 foot-pounds. Install the caliper bracket. Remember to tighten it down to 28 foot-pounds. And reinstall the pad retainer clips. Just grease those up a little, including the one back here. Just slip in the that one's in. Remember, the inner one has to have this pad wear indicator facing up. So another struggle with this one. So once you manage to put the caliper back on, remember to tighten both the bolts down to 17 foot-pounds. And this one's already done. All that's left is to slap the wheels back on, and the torque spec for that is 80 foot-pounds on all four of the lugs. And let's go to the front. So to change the front rotors, just take off the two 10mm bolts holding the brake line in, and then that way you get access to the two 12mm bolts on the caliper, top and bottom. I've already broken them loose, so I guess once we've done that, we just take off the caliper. I have to do with one hand, so I'll continue once I've done that. Okay, so after taking off the caliper bolts, you just rest the caliper on something, just in a bucket, or you can zip tie it to the strap. Next step, break off the two 18mm bolts back here, one up here, one down there. They're supposed to be torqued down to 80 foot-pounds, so might need a breaker bar for this. I've already done that, so should just slip right off. And store the bolt somewhere. That's it. To take off the rotors for the front now, they're secured by two felt heads, so should be simple enough. Okay, and after taking that rotor off, this is just an extra step. It's never really needed, but just because my ABS sensor light is on, and before I go about decoding that, I thought I might as well, since I have the chance to clean off the ABS sensors. It's just right back here, held in place with two 10mm bolts. Clean it off, just use a bit of brake clean on a blue shop towel, wipe it off, and just drop it back in. I guess continue with the next step in a minute. So before you put the caliper bracket back on, remember to re-grease the slide pins and the boots. Because mine was really dirty, so I set it aside for cleaning. And remember to push back the piston, just use a C-clamp and an old pad. I've already done it, so I'll continue once I'm done cleaning the bracket. Okay, so once we've pushed the piston back in place using the C-clamp and the old pad, I put the new pad retainer clips back on, re-greased the caliper bolt, the guide pins, and remember once you put them in, move them around to make sure they don't come loose. And the boots on. The bolt from the caliper bracket to this part has to be torqued down to 80 foot-pounds. So I've pretty much already redone mine, but another check. So once I do that, next step is to add in the pads. So I've already greased up the back. They should just slip on. That's one. And for the one at the back, remember the wear indicator has to be facing up. It should just slip in. Just the same. Hopefully. There we go, that's done. Test pin. Next part is to put the piston back in. It's pressed in. Should go back into place quite easily. Yep. In place. Use my knee as a prop. And remember to tighten the slider pins down to 23 foot-pounds, I believe. That's one. That's two. So, in case I forgot to mention, this thing is of 18 mil, these are 12 mils, and The brake line over here should be 10 mil. So once this has been all torqued down, last step is just to put the wheel back on, which is 80 foot-pounds, and you're done.